my previous video, I focused on how Haxan works as a horror film, but what makes Haxan even more of an anomaly is the way it blends the genres. Haxan is a bizarre film because it balances on the line of disturbing horror and documentary. However, the debate of whether it's a documentary or not has been going on even till this day. So, where in my previous video I examined the fears on display, now I'll focus on how exactly it works as a documentary. In the previous video, I explained that the focus of the year of the release was important when examining the film. Same applies here. Released in the same year as Haxan, Robert Flannery's Nanook of the North would come out. A film that many consider to be the first official documentary, a film that took its creator a year or two to research and make. Haxan has a similar behind-the-scenes story, as Christensen would spend 3 years in advance to research his topic. For Haxan, Christensen had a goal in mind. Christensen wanted to know at the time whether a film could hold the public's interest without all the things that would make a good film. Where the two contrast is with their subject material. Where Nanook dealt with a more scientifically proven subject, Christensen would work with the subject based in myth, folklore, and religion. There's hardly any science to back up the material, and no raw to take the story from. Christensen would be put in the position to almost pioneer a subgenre in the already developing genre of the documentary. Haxan is one of the earliest examples of the horror pseudo-documentary. The horror pseudo-documentary combines horror and documentary tropes, themes, and rhetorical strategies in ways that rely heavily on the spectator's awareness of the documentary, reality TV, mystery, and horror conventions. Examples of this can go from TV series such as Discovery's Haunting to films like Hellier and, of course, Haxan. The goal of the pseudo-documentary is to show the strange side of the historical world by connecting unanswered questions and using what evidence there is to speculate. Haxan fits this due to the only evidence being that of historical records and artworks, or literature of the time period of focus. With the philosophy of the horror pseudo-documentary, Christensen would be able to make the unreal real. Ways of how Haxan establishes this genre can be seen within the first chapter of the film. While we remember the film for its disturbing visual, many forget that the film kicks off with an almost lecture-like opening, introducing you to the subject material. There are no recreations, and rather just presentations of artwork and examples of Christensen's research. At a runtime of 13 minutes, it's one that can test your patience, but it is important because it establishes the tone of the film. This intro lets the audience know that this isn't a traditional horror film, but more of a cinematic essay on a topic that has inspired so many other horror films. This is reinforced more with the movie structure as Haxan takes on a new plot with each chapter. There's hardly any connecting wires between each chapter and no main characters to attach to. This is because of Christensen's original goal with the film, and rather uses the material on his topic as the main focus over that of a traditional narrative. The film even stops near the midpoint of the film to show us various tools used to torture a witch and how they worked. On top of all of this, Christensen would use foreshadowing to tease some of the horrors early on. Various shots shown in the wild ride have their painting counterpart shown early in the film to show us that these are common representations of hell and witchcraft, and not simply some twisted visual from Christensen's mind. Parallel editing is also used in the last chapter, as the film shows us various treatments for hysteria, and how they are not so different from the earlier time periods according to Christensen. Take this shot for example, as we are shown how hydrotherapy may not be so different from burning a witch at the stake. Both Haxan and Nanook of the North are fascinating films. Both can be considered major pioneers introducing new film techniques and ideas. But where Nanook works on a more traditional side of the documentary, Haxan is a way more experimental film. So experimental that it is clearly remembered more for its horror elements. But with editing, a chapter structure, and film theories, Christensen is able to educate you on a topic he is focusing on. Christensen ended up paving the way for a new form of documentary in an already new genre. A documentary that would be more transgressive and focus on the weirder sides of the historical world.